Are you interested in real estate investing but not quite sure where to get started? Do you want to get the know-hows on creating ongoing passive income using the buy and hold strategy? Hi, I'm Janice Bowles, licensed realtor and co-founder of B Premier Ventures, a real estate development and consulting firm where we buy and beautify distressed real estate, renovate it, and resell for profit. With over 15 years of investing experience, B Premier has extensive knowledge in rural land development, fix and flips, and rental acquisitions. B Premier's current portfolio consists of properties within Florida and Virginia. Our firm's services includes investor project consulting, project management, and group coaching. For more information, visit our website at bpremierventures.com and schedule a complimentary discovery session or subscribe to our email list. It's free. Follow me on Instagram at Janice Bowles for additional real estate investing tips. B Premier Ventures, we buy and beautify.
Hey everybody, welcome to today's episode of Let's Do It Talk Show. It's your girl, Ladrine Howard Peterson, the CEO and founder of Do It, delivering on ideas and thoughts. And you know what I do in a nutshell, right? I help to turn dreamers into doers, and I do it from two aspects. I do it from the aspect of career development, resume writing, interview preparation. You have an issue on your job, performance plans, promotion package. I am your girl. And then I also do it from a business aspect. If you're looking to start a business, you have a business, but you're looking for different ways to expand it, marketing strategies, business plans, the likes. I am your girl. Here at the Let's Do It Talk Show, we were primarily created for entrepreneurs, right? We quickly shifted because we realized that an entrepreneur is an entire person. So we talk about faith, we talk about finances, we talk about the future, and we talk about family and relationships. So today's show is extra special for me, right? So as we all know, unless you are living under two rocks, that the actual holiday of Juneteenth became official. So this is the first year that we'll be celebrating fresh in June, and we are still celebrating and happy about that. However, a lot of people have different thoughts and different opinions about it. So I wanted to take the opportunity on my show to, one, celebrate it because it is a historical event. And so I have some of my friends with me today, and we are going to talk about Juneteenth, a dream realized. With me today, we have Auntie Ross Knight in Warfield, Dr. Reverend Sharon Y. Harley, and Gwendolyn Briley Strand. Neither one of them are a stranger, always have chimed in or actually been on the show. So today is going to be a very interesting topic, but you know what I do before we get involved in the topic, right? I share and I talk about my weekend. So my weekend was really interesting, but I tried to make sure that I carved out some time to relax. So what I did this weekend was I celebrated one of my good girlfriend's birthday, Patrice. Happy birthday, Patrice. She's a pink girl, everything pink. But we had a seafood fest, which was phenomenal. So crabs, crab boil, shrimp, everything that you can think of from seafood, we had an outing and got a chance to catch up with some of my friends. But then, oh my gosh, I think my highlight this weekend was running into Mr. Bruce. So I posted, I was passing by, bucked the U-turn, saw vegetables outside, and it ended up being a whole historical lesson. He gave me a tour of his farm, and I just really enjoyed that. So I'll have him on the show. And I'm still celebrating my birthday, so just sharing a little bit. So my daughter bought me a Telfar, I guess that's the name of it. Y'all know I'm a coach, and I don't know all the names, but this sold out bag, but the thing is because it's green. So I got a lot of Coach stuff, but I felt like I was cheating on Coach with this bag. But she was like, you know, it's a hot bag that's sold out and everything. So I will be sporting that. But all in all, I got a chance to relax as well as I have a lot of clients for career right now. So been trying to make sure I balance that out to make sure that I relax and take some time off for myself as well. So let's jump into the topic. So we're going to talk about 3 different topics: past, present, and predictions or future. But you know me with the thing with P, so that's how we're rocking. But I wanted to bring on different people who had different perspectives, different environmental growing up, different things that impact them of how they feel the way they feel and their experiences that they had gone through. So first up, I am going to talk to Auntie Roz. And with that, I'm going to bring her on and introduce her. And then we're going to share a little bit about the grandmother of Juneteenth, who had been fighting hard to make this a national holiday, and still 90 plus doing her thing, had a walk. And definitely want to take time for this show to honor her and pay respect for her for all that she did. Yes, the real Opal Lee. So Auntie Roz, you are up first, and it seemed like I talk to you almost every day. So very excited to have you on the show. So can you introduce yourself to everyone? Let them know a little bit about you and who you are.
Yes. Of course, first of all, accolades to you. You are my little sister that is on a big mission. You are loved, appreciated, celebrated, valued, and most cherished. And you know my love to you. So, and virtual hugs, because I can't get to ya. My name is Roz Knighton Warfield, and I'm known as an architectural smile genius. And smile means simply make intentional love encounters. And I have been called Auntie for years, but I am now a part of Clubhouse, which is a new app where I have become Auntie, and they didn't even know it. So I'm known as an Auntie. I've never had children of my own. My husband has 3, and we have 2 grandchildren. I live in the Dallas, Texas area, and I am a GI brat. Both of my parents were in the Air Force, so there was a little bit of traveling there. Grew up West Coast born and Midwest, graduated high school. And I am just so elated to be here on the show. Ladrine and I, whenever we talk, this is when you know you have a Jesus girlfriend, a good girlfriend who's on a mission. Because when we talk, we're not talking about buying red bottom shoes and what we're going to wear. We're talking about world views and respecting each other's opinions about what is going on. And I have the opportunity, not knowing, but almost for a year, I've had a girlfriend of mine who is in the trucking industry, because my husband and I are in the trucking industry, that told me she wanted me to meet this special person. I lost my own grandmother 2 years ago. She was 102 years of age. And now nobody can replace a grandmother, but it's always nice to know that you have individuals who are more seasoned than yourself, who have a love for people, and not just our people, but for our culture. And 2 Saturdays ago, on Juneteenth, I was in Dr. Stacy NC Grant's room, Faithpreneur VIP room, and the Holy Spirit said to tag Amy Handy, Miss Amy Handy. And she lives in the Fort Worth area. We haven't seen each other for many years, but we came back in contact because of the app of Clubhouse. Mm-hmm. And when I tagged her, I know that she doesn't do the weekends. And normally I don't, but Dr. Stacy turned the conference call into a multi-bilingual, I guess I would say, multi-bilingual, that we're not only a conference call in, we're also available on Clubhouse. So it was Juneteenth. And Dr. Stacy was talking about Juneteenth. She was talking about the grandmother of Juneteenth, the spearhead person who had gotten it to the level of what it is by being identified as a federal holiday. And Amy said, hold on, because I had her on the phone. because she called me, but I was on Clubhouse, and I had to end up getting on Clubhouse on my husband's so I can use my phone for the phone to be free. But we had a call previous to that, and she got Mother Opal on the line, just as energetic, delightful, talk and ready to go. And she said, now, I got to go. I want to talk, but I got to go, because when they come get me, I got to go, because she was preparing to go to the walk, to the parade. And y'all, it was 100+ degrees on Juneteenth in Texas.
So that's definitely an inspiration to all of us. All of us. I was just talking to the producers, talking about getting back into my walking game. So I tell you, definitely an inspiration, but not only just with her energy of being able to walk now, but her mission. Like, she just didn't start this, and Juneteenth is not new. Like, that's the whole thing for me. So I have actually been celebrating Juneteenth since 1992. When I started working at Health and Human Services, two ladies that I looked up to, they were AKAs at Howard University, and their sororities, they had an event, and I was like, what are we celebrating? And they educated and schooled me, and so every year I have been doing that. So let's talk about like what it means. So let's talk about like the past. So as you started talking about the grandmother of Juneteenth, Roz, one of the things Roz and I are on a faithpreneur called Dr. Stacy NC Grant every Saturday morning, hours, till it ends, right? Until. But the thing about that is when you shared your testimony about your experiences, and so we have experiences. Everybody have their experiences, right? Dr. Reverend will come up and talk about how she grew up in the country. And oh my God, just wait till you hear Miss Gwendolyn's story. She's an artist and she do one-woman show. So she had already portrayed everybody that you can think of in history. So the enrichedness of it, of what we have on the show today, I'm so excited. So Auntie Ross, let's go with this first question. Please share your experiences associated with Juneteenth, or as a Black African American growing up and navigating life. And by this, especially for you, because you, like this whole setting of everything of where the cheating began and really put this on the map was Texas, which is where you reside. So talk to me about the stories that you got from your grandmother and the experiences that you went through in that. So give us your 2-minute spiel in terms of your experiences growing up in Texas in the past. So because it's going to come to the point of what Juneteenth means to us now.
Well, number one, I did not grow up in Texas. My parents were from Texas. My dad was from Marshall, Texas, and my mom was from Houston. My maternal grandmother, as I said, got her angel wings at 102. And she was an entrepreneur till probably like 90 years of age when they just purposely took her keys away from her. But my experience in talking to Granny about, racism and yesa and all that kind of stuff, we had our private talks about that. And I was not happy and thrilled about folks still lost their lives 2.5 years later to get an announcement that you're free. So I had a really, really hard time with that. Where I experienced Juneteenth for the first time was in Denver, Colorado, to hear about it, the picnics, the things that were done. But I always managed to not be celebratory about it because it didn't make sense to me. But I can tell you this, that after leaving Dallas, Texas on June 19th, 2021, driving to Fort Worth, seeing the people, and then to have seen her, Miss Opal leave, to have walked 2.5 miles in the heat and then still get on the stage and share with people to sign off, to go to the link and sign off, was a major feat that it gave me 180-degree turnaround of asking God to help me gravitate, help me to understand, help me to embrace the work of someone that's in my time era to make it a federal holiday. And it's gonna be time. She talked to me, she said, baby, all of us had some type of thing. She said, I just appreciate you being honest about it, but I'm 0 degrees away to be able to talk to her by phone, to be able to go sit at her feet, and to think that she's been in Fort Worth the whole time, which, you know, I knew she was in Texas, but I don't think I really realized it was Fort Worth and that she even knows some of my people. So my grandmother, Sadie Stringfellow, we would have our private talks, and I was the child who would say what I have to say, because when I saw the African Americans to, oblige in that, that white elephant in the room kind of way, it just, even as a little kid, it just got to me. And I don't know if that came from my parents being in the Air Force, right, and we were just around in a different area, because my parents were both of the parents that moved away from home and ventured out into different areas. So that's my share.
Okay. No, so that's really, really good. And I again, we had dialogue about this. Even from when I first heard you saying it on the Faithpreneur call, I totally respect your point of view. Everybody, have their different experiences, different feelings, different things they went through. And even without age differences, like what you witnessed, where you saw somebody, I'm 50, somebody can be the same age as I am, but their experiences. My family grew up in South Carolina and so on and so forth. So again, I respect your opinion, your thoughts, and even your transition in your state of mind as you maintain and gain more information. So definitely can't wait till we have the group discussion. So we'll definitely pull you back on and talk more. So next up, it seems like you were just here. It's Dr. Reverend Sharon Y. Harley. And I'm joking because she was just here on the show with her book project and her group Empowered to Win. So during that discussion, you didn't even know that this was going to be my topic. But as you shared and you expressed from your story and your experiences, it was directly related to what I was preparing for and directly what we had just experienced with the holiday, right? So please give an overview of who you are and then go into it in terms of the questioning of sharing your experiences associated with Juneteenth or as a Black African American growing up and navigating life.
Well, I used to call myself a mutt because I come from, they say, what's your race? And I have to really just say everything. And so I am Sharon Y. Harley. I put the Y in there because everybody in the DMV is Sharon Harley. So distinguish the difference. I had to throw that Y in there. I am the overseer and founder of Run and Shout Evangelical International Ministries. And yes, I did I became a co-author in the first collaboration, and also wrote my first book. One came out June 1st, the other one June 3rd. So I called them my fraternal twins in a time frame that people believe nothing can happen. But it still all stems back to what I believe where my strength came from, which was being this conundrum. And what I mean by that is that my father was African American. My mother was a mixture of Caucasian and Indian. Her mother, who died when my mother was just 6 weeks old, she was Caucasian. My father, my grandfather, Blackfoot. And so, it was just interesting in that time frame being in South Carolina where they pretty much all hail from. And so my siblings are all old enough to be my parent. So me being, they say I'm not a mistake, but I came much later, where I came into this different generation of people, and I was like an only child. But my mother, who could not stand that way of living, because she came from what I would consider, or they considered to be, royalty. They were all educated. They had, as a matter of fact, my grandfather gave my mom and my dad land for their wedding anniversary. Wow. My mother was married at 14. My dad was 12 years her senior. Wow. All he had ever known was farming. So even when my grandparents gave them land, my father, tragically, his mindset was still to be enslaved, that he got rid of the land just so he could continue to work for the white man. Well, they had an agreement that when they got married, that he would move to the city. And that didn't happen. And so as my siblings began to get older, my brother got tuberculosis from drinking out of the same dipper when they were working in the field. Oh, wow. My oldest sister ended up getting scarlet fever really bad. My mother said they told her to go to the back door if she wanted to come in there and get any medicine. Meanwhile, her sister, who was, she's deceased now, but she looked completely Caucasian. She could go and do whatever she wanted to do. My mother was a spitfire. She said, "Not I," says and so she worked long enough to get her money to come to the DMV. They agreed to educate the children. And so that began my going back and forth by the time I came along. And so I would often stay at my aunt and uncle's house, where there were 14 or 15 children there. Wow. And there were 2 rooms in the house. Of course, my aunt and uncle had the main bedroom, and everybody else was in the other bed. Wow. For fun, we would, they'd shoot the hog in the head, and us children would go out and after they put them in the boiling water, then we just watch the skin and the hair come off. And so when in Rome, you do as the Romans. So what I was sharing with, where I believe my strength came from to write this book, this chapter, Stay in the Race, was the idea that I was caught up in something simply because of timing, God, everything. And I'm loving this conversation with all these beautiful Christians. Hallelujah. And so we know that God does nothing by accident.
Amen.
And
Amen.
So what was happening is that the Lord knew that I would come up in a time frame where I would have to learn how to stay in the race. So he gave me a backbone. I know now, I didn't know it in the beginning, a voice to not be content with what I was witnessing. Right. Because the exposure of being in the DMV, I understood that there was better, because my parents, I was a little princess in DC. Hey, whatever I wanted. And they didn't spoil me to that degree. But again, I was like an only child. But then I had to go back to South Carolina, and I spend that time with my relatives, my cousins, to whom this day I loved them so much. But when the white man drove up with his pickup truck, everybody 4.5 over jumped on the back of that pickup truck. And so because I wasn't there all the time, my skills were not quite sufficient enough to be able to pick the cotton fast enough or unwind the tobacco off the stick at 2 cents a stick. So that's real money. And I wasn't doing it fast enough. So I got beat up quite a bit in the tobacco barn. And my mother, she thought that I was enjoying life. My daddy, they thought I was having fun with my cousins, because I would stay there because that's where all the children were. Where in fact, I was miserable. But I had to stay the course. I had to stay in the race, because when in Rome, you do what the Romans do. But I knew this could not be my now for forever. nor my future. So I was called the what they call it, the black child, what some little term they use,
the
one that's always doing something that the others won't do, and I didn't understand it because again I'm growing into who I am, and I'm advocating and I'm fighting for what I see as the underdog. And there was just something intuitively inside of me to fight for what was, as they will write on my tombstone, that was right, righteous, and just. I could not understand it. And so I just grew up to be in this place of where, you know what? I can't always do this. I don't know how these people do it. But as I've, in this 21st century, as I've grown up and others have grown up as well, I am so grateful that God in his awesomeness, his love for us, he has allowed a lot of my family, they got to a place where they were exposed to something better. And we have doctors in the families. We have other preachers and ministers and things of that nature. But my family did not have an address. There was no address. You had to drive miles out the way to a post office to get your mail. We had to prime the pump to get water. I had to use the outhouse. I took a bath in the number 9 tub. Come on now. I run out the back door, just to get outside and run smack dab into the barbed wire that was protecting keeping the hogs in. And so there was something wrong with that.
Right. And so it is just these type of things that I love to hear people talk about their experiences, right? So our generation, and it's not all of them that have a sense of entitlement, right? It depends on your upbringing, your environment, and everything else. You're the sum of all of your total experiences. And just as you relate the differences from what happened when you were in DMV to what happened to when you were in South Carolina. It was like Cinderella, then the stepchild. You know what I mean? And so it is like people have to really get an understanding. And that's how I honestly learned to become non-judgmental. So when I say judgmental, it wasn't judging somebody of their sin. I honestly, in full transparency, I had a judgmental stance because I grew up in the worst part of Southeast DC. It was horrible, right? It was horrible. But inside my home, I was safe, never hungry. Like when you see like people hungry, whatever, my mom worked. But when I went outside every day, it was terrorism. It was like terrorists, you know what I mean? And it was gunshot, alcoholics, everything. And I fast forward to say that some of these things are still going on. Some kids are still going through these things. And then yet somebody expects this kid to grow up, behave, and do all of these things where, yes, that sounds like the right thing to do. But if it's engraved in you, you're trying to figure out why these little kids curse, why these little kids acting grown and fast and doing all these things. It's what is in their environment. They don't come out the womb being this way. So every experience that each one of us have, right, it impacts us, even how we feel about Juneteenth. So we are actually going to transition, and then so we can get into the group discussion. But we have to go to so Miss Gwendolyn. Oh my God. So first of all, I want you to share about what you do, but also let everybody what you did on Juneteenth. But I absolutely love following and watching you and what you do. So with churches, other museums, and just I'm not going to tell your story. I'm going to let you tell your story. But this conversation and what we do, because you as an artist, you get to portray this, but then there's also you and your personal being of your feeling and your personal experience. So please welcome back, because you were on when we were doing Black Lives Matter and
Yes.
I Can't Breathe. So let everybody know who you are, what you do, and what this whole thing of Juneteenth becoming an official national holiday. What does it mean to you?
Well, hello, and it is so wonderful, wonderful, all these beautiful women on, and you for having us and having your show. I'm excited. I'm excited. My name is Gwendolyn Briley Strand, and I am the CEO of a company called See the Fruits. And what I do is I bring history to life. It's an entertainment, educational entertainment. And I do one-woman shows. I have done several characters. I do Harriet Tubman, Rosa Parks, Wilma Rudolph, Marian Anderson. I've done a lot of women. The two women that I travel all around the country with are Miss Tubman and Miss Parks.
Yes.
And the day after Juneteenth, I was doing my one-woman show, Harriet Tubman, The Chosen One, in Virginia at a church. I'm blessed to go around to museums and churches and schools. I've been doing Harriet Tubman for 30 years.
Wow.
All over the United States. I've been in 34 states with it and Canada, traveling with the show. And when I think about our history and Juneteenth, I was born in New York City, in Harlem. I'm the daughter of a Baptist preacher, the granddaughter of a Baptist preacher. And so I grew up in the church. I grew up loving the Lord. I had the kind of father that he was a teaching preacher. So he would teach them. He would sit there. There are 5 of us. One has passed on, gone home to be with the Lord, a younger brother of mine who was killed on September 11th, 2001 in Tower 1. But the 4 of us, we have 4 others that we're still here. And my father used to get all 5 of us in the living room. We'd have Bible study every night. And, we'd go to grumbling and mumbling and we would pray and read the Bible. And I was the one that said, well, why is that? Why? I don't get that. And my father, and I thought I was aggravating him, but I think he loved it. He said, that's a good question. Let's delve into the Bible and find out. And we would go in and he would show me how God works in his omniscience and how he works with everything. And then he would take me to the history book. And he said, now this is what's going on in the world at that time. So I wouldn't get things twisted.
Right.
Because see, in that time, they were saying women shouldn't be in the pulpit and all of this. And he was showing me why they were saying that. It wasn't because of what we all thought. My father was the kind of man that even when I was a little girl and we lived in Harlem, I grew up in the projects, and I'd go when my father would go out, he would carry his oldest little girl, because Joanne, my sister, she was just a baby then. So he would take me, and my mother, I could hear her calling and yelling, comb that girl's hair, because my hair was all over the place, and Daddy didn't care. I didn't care. I just wanted to be with my father. And we would go down and get some ice cream. And I remember the time when there were all of these black men. We were on 125th Street, and all of these black men were surrounding all around, and they had these bow ties and these suits on. And I asked him, I said, well, what's going on? And he took me over to the door, and he opened up the door of this hall. And I looked all the way down, and he showed me that. He said, you see that, man? They are Muslims. And this is the way they dress, they represent. It's different from us. But this is where and you see that man up standing behind the desk in the pulpit. His name is, they call him Malcolm X. And so it was just amazing,
Wow.
and I kept all of this in my head. My father told me about the time when he came up from North Carolina, North Kakalaki, they used to say. And he came up, and he had heard about, he was a young preacher, and he had heard about this man that was just always, that could just light up the world with his oratory skills. And he went down to Abyssinia Baptist Church, and I remember he said he stood in the back, and he looked at, he said, there's a little short man. He said, he just looked at him, but the more he talked, and he talked, my father said he just got taller and taller. And the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., I mean, it was just, he has all of these stories. So I hid all of this stuff in my heart, never knowing that I would use it as I was, as I became an adult and developed my craft as an actor. I'm a graduate of Fordham University, and their theater department is right down in Lincoln Center. So I was able to go, when I graduated college, go right off Broadway and do all of it. But then I started getting interested in my history. And I've done all film and television, I do a lot of voiceover work. But my love, I said, I found out about this woman, Harriet Tubman. Now, I'd heard about her. We've read all of the skimming of what they do in history. But when I was asked to portray her on stage, I had to learn more about her.
Right.
And not just the superficial stuff that they taught us in school. And the more I learned and delved into it, so it's only been about 40 years that I've known about Juneteenth. And because I didn't learn about it in school, I learned about it when I started delving into history and asking my father about different things. My mother's a Washingtonian. It's funny. She was born and raised in D.C., went to New York. I was born and raised in New York, left and came down. So we sort of switched out. But the more I learned about, for instance, Harriet Tubman, what a warrior for Christ she was. No one knew that. No one talked about, when we are in theaters, and we don't talk about in portraying her, that she was a Christian woman that knew who she belonged to.
Amen.
And so the more when I started having other people's script, I said, I have to write my own plays about these people, because they are not talking about these women, these Christian warriors, the way they should be. And so when I wrote Harriet Tubman, The Chosen One, I made sure that it was factual. I knew it would be entertaining. I'm a trained actor. I'm good at what I do, but I want to be a lesson. I want it to be a lesson, because I'm in schools and high schools, middle schools, universities, and colleges, and I want them to learn the truth. But I want to give it to them so it touches the hearts. Because for so long, I've been, so many of places and people I've talked to have been white, have been Caucasian, and because they're the ones that are really willing to put up the money to learn the history. And so it was important that it was factual and that they learned from it. When I found out that Juneteenth was a holiday, had become a holiday, I thought, even though I have known about it for the past 40 years, in my travels, most people didn't know the origin of it, Black and white, especially white. But our Black brothers and sisters, I said, come on, we have to know our history, and they must know it. They must know our history so that they can have an empathetic and a high respect for African American history. Because if they don't, then I'm tired of the excuse, I didn't know that. Oh, I never thought about that. I didn't know. And see, now I'm getting a little old, so my...
But no, I love what you're saying. So I'm over here like playing double dutch to come in, but like, no, I'm gonna let her finish. No, I'm gonna let her finish. But when you said the more you learn, right? The more you learn, like that's the whole thing. Education. You know how my mother always told me, like they can do whatever, but they can never take away what you have truly foundationally learned. That's instilled in you. So when you said the more you learn, it just got me to bouncing. And then you said the purpose of what you do is to teach and to educate. That's the whole thing. And then you flipped on, and that's why I was like, no, let me let her finish. Because then you started saying, we can blame other people, other races. We can do that, right? What happened, happened. And it's no watered down in that, no pretending like it didn't happen, and no just letting it pass by as if it didn't happen, right? It happened. But what are we going to do? It was 1865, right, when this happened. And, of course, the prior years before that when it really was supposed to happen. But it's 2021. I'm not saying like, oh, get over it. No, not by any chance at all. So for me, I had mixed feelings about it becoming a federal holiday. No shade. I was like, ooh, we get a day off? And so you have to understand what was going on. So I work for the federal government. We had all of these meetings prepared for Friday. It was 3 o'clock p.m. We still did not know what was going to go on for that following day. I appreciate the new administration rushing or last minute or however you want to phrase it, because it kind of like shook the world up. But like for me, I've been celebrating it since 1992, right? And going to various events, learning and educating myself. So yes, it made me think of all these things that we went through, but I was proud that it became a holiday, because now it means that we don't have to only celebrate it among us. It is a respectable national holiday that is national, not me in 1992 going with these mentors, and I was like, what is this? I felt like we were sneaking. It was in a park, right? But it was ways to get to the park, and there was a lot of partying going on. But I was like, what are we doing? Where are we going? And it was when they had partying and dancing, but it was when they began to educate and to explain what it was. I didn't learn that in school. That made me go look it up. So when you said educate, like you said it on so many different levels. First, what you witnessed and how God set you up and prepared you for what you do, but not just doing it, but understanding the part of taking and giving it right back out. So when you do it, you're doing it with a purpose, right? Yeah. A purpose of educating. So I love that. So that's why I was over here about to jump out my seat when you were going around and doing that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to soften it up a little bit, but then we're going to go back deep into the subject. So I like to do this thing called this or that, right? So I'm going to say two things. You pick one or you pick the other. It's not meant to be a whole dissertation where you think or analyze or come up with a logical answer. What do you like? All right? So this or that. When you're journaling, do you like to type it out or do you like to write it out? Auntie Roz?
For me, I'm writing it. I like a legal pad.
Okay.
And a pencil. I even do a pencil because when there's stuff, no. I got to face it and put something, or just cross it out so I'll see how I change my mind. But I write it out.
Okay, Dr. Reverend Sharon and Auntie Roz, what about you all?
I'm typing because I can't understand my own writing.
You have a reason why. So I get it. That's a good reason why. Auntie Roz, what about you?
I write, and my writings have turned into the stories. I'm in 9 anthologies, so I write first.
And those of you online, please put in yours also. I have so many journals. I have my journals for church. I have my notes from church from years and years back. Yep. My everyday, like I journal and I write. It helps me just to free and let go of stuff so that I can start my next day anew. I love writing. I love to practice my penmanship. I just love like the whole writing thing. The only thing, there is an advantage to typing. There is an advantage because you can cut and paste and do all over. When you write, and you got to write, but it helps me to get my thoughts out. So I'm with the writers. The good Dr. Reverend, I understand. If we don't want you to write and then can't read it.
There's a backstory to why I got beat up by the police for stealing my own house in Maryland.
Oh, wow. Oh. Wow.
Broke my shoulder, my rotator cuff, and damaged my nerves in my hand playing with their handcuffs.
Oh, wow. So, wow. See, it's always a story behind something. But on the line, we have all writers. So,
wonderful.
So, co-pastor Davida Gang Stewart, Reverend Smith. So those are the two who responded. Right. So write all day. So the next one is, okay, so we kind of like in the little Bible. I actually had this one from last week when I had all the women of cloth on. But reading the Bible, electronic device or physical book?
Physical book.
Okay.
Bible, read the Bible, mark it up, write it up, date it. See how you think about it again.
I do both because I've got maybe 20 Bibles that I've old ones. I have my parents' Bibles, my in-laws' Bibles that have gone on. I have a woman's Bible. I have I have so many, and I've crossed them out, and you highlight and all of that. But when I'm watching now during all of these Zooms and going from church on Sunday, from church to church to church, and I do the electronic too, but I love the book, the book in my hand.
The book and nothing but the book. So everybody is saying physical book. A couple people are saying both. So of course I like both, but my one choice, and spank me on my hand, whatever. The electronic version. The electronic version for me, I can cut and paste and move it to this spot, do this. Especially with the app, I can highlight through the app. And even as I go through with each one of the plans, it highlights and shows me what I already read. I got my color code highlighted and everything. However, I do have my physical books, right? I do have them, but I touch them to dust them off and move them to the other side. So I'm that electronic size girl. So okay, I'm gonna go in the house and just read a scripture or something out of the physical book just so that I feel like I'm in the know. I'm messing with y'all. All right, so the last one for this portion of the this or that: cookout, hot dogs or hamburgers. I'm a hot dog girl.
A burnt hot dog.
Look, she has an adjective with hers. A burnt one.
Hot dog. It can be beef, but it gotta be burnt.
Yeah, beef burnt hot dog.
Beef. I can't eat non-beef. What about you all online? Beef or hamburgers? Beef or hamburgers?
Give me a hamburger with some onions on it and some ketchup. And yes. But I love the hot dogs too.
Okay. It's the top burger, hot dog, and burnt. Two people are specifically with you and saying that they need that hot dog to be burnt. So okay. Sounds like a cookout thing to me. All right. So let's do this. So let's get into the main topic of this question is Juneteenth. So we kind of expressed and talked about how we felt about it. So let me ask you this. Do you think that some people feel that making Juneteenth a holiday makes up for the wrongfulness done? What are your personal and individual thoughts? Y'all can go in whatever order y'all want to go in. It's a dialogue now.
Well, I definitely don't feel that it makes up for anything. We have 400 years. I think it is wonderful in the fact sometimes, and especially when it comes to our white brothers and sisters, sometimes they must be forced. They must be forced to digest our history, to learn our history. We have learned all, as starting from slavery, we had to know about them. Mm-hmm. We had to. Mm-hmm. And we know, and we know everything about them because we've served them. And so it's time that they learned our history. And so I think it's important for them so they can stop with this selective, I'm going to say ignorance, selective, I don't know. Mm-hmm. Well, because that wasn't an excuse for us, and it shall not no more be an excuse for them. So I love the fact that this administration has this, and because of my sister, Opal Lee, the mother, I mean,
grandmother.
Her tenacious. That's what I love about our people, the tenaciousness of it. The reason we keep going until we accomplish. But, you know, that's what the word does. That's what he has said we are to do. So, I mean, we have to keep going and keep this so much more. Juneteenth is the first step. It's just another step. So I'm grateful for it. And we got a lot of things, reparations by changing the policies, foundation of this country. You can't pay us enough money to make up for 400 years. But you can make this yet to be United States of America equal, and just because without justice, there will be no peace. So it's a step. Yeah. It's a step.
Definitely agree with you. I'm not even going to double back and circle back on anything that you said because I totally agree with everything that you said. Anybody else? Comments, thoughts? What do you think?
I am excited about the acknowledgement. But I believe with the acknowledgement, or what I would love to see in African Americans, is that we turn this into a time of education, whereby we ourselves take ownership of the fact that this is a beautiful thing. And yes, our people have gone through some things that, and still go through in many ways, things that should have never, ever happened. But I want to do something that changes this idea of I can't this because of that.
Yes.
So make this a time and opportunity where now that it's been acknowledged, you know, be it they want to acknowledge it or not, it's on the books. It's been done. So you can't say that it's being avoided or anything like that. It's now a federal holiday. It is what it is. Now let's take back ownership and do like that song says, life is what you make it. Because you and I, we have ownership, just as I shared my story. And I'm not sure where you were, Ladrine, terms of living in Southeast, but my other home to which the White House gave to my mother when she wrote them a letter was on F Street, Southeast Eastgate. And so that's where I grew up. And my mother too, she teaching and helping the those that were in the community, because a lot of them, their lives were very different from mine, because we did have, my mom and my dad, you know, worked to do different things. And so I recognized that things happen by exposure. So one of the first things as God called me out for ministry to do was to go back into those places where I knew people still were making where they are somebody else's excuse, making it, putting it on them. So we go into the communities with what we call revival of the village, to take back what already belongs to us, to educate, send out ministers out there to talk to the families. We have different vendors come out to help, because just because you're here, you don't have to stay here. But we have to do it. That right. We can't make the excuse anymore of what we cannot do. It is nobody's fault but our own. My mother, she said, I'm not going to do this no more. She took pen to paper and wrote a letter to the White House, said I had 3 kids. I wasn't there yet. And said that, she's coming from South Carolina. This is what her life is like. And she wants her kids to be educated in Washington, D.C. So my oldest sister was one of the first to go to Howard University, but she took matters into her own hands. Whatever was going to happen, she was willing to take the risk to make a change in her life. And she passed it on to the community. Those kids that never knew. What's the King's Dominion? My mother took the children on a bus to King's Dominion. Didn't ask their parents for nothing.
Yeah. And so you hit on some good points. I want to read this comment from one of our viewers. Darlene Hopkins Thorne says, it does not make up for it. It merely acknowledges it and hopefully to educate and call for empathy from our counterparts. We have for many years accommodated our counterparts. It is time for reciprocation. So that was her comment. And Roz, before I make my comment about that, I'll let you go. So your thoughts, what do you feel in terms of that? Does it make it right? Or people thinking that it makes it right?
No, it doesn't make it right, but I'm with Dr. Sharon because of the education. I already mentioned that there was some conversation and controversy from others that look like me. They were like, how could you? But that was my opinion. But the thing about it, on that particular day, I still asked some folks, they did not know the history of Juneteenth. They did not know the history and how did Juneteenth get created. And one of the things, you and I share a mentor from afar, Myron Golden, he talks about entertainment and education. And we have to understand how to do the investment in education before we do the entertainment. Now that we have a federal holiday, well, of course, the entertainment's going to be done, but now because that it's acknowledged as a federal holiday, now we have a different precedence of Black-owned businesses being a part of these different venues throughout the United States. And then guess what? Not everybody took to the bill.
Yeah.
There are some states that have not.
And it's not the first time that it came up. It's not the first time that the bill came up.
Just like Martin Luther King's birthday, a lot of states refuse.
They're still refusing. Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday, I marched for that one. So I don't know about how I'm going to march again, but I marched for that one. Or Dr. Martin Luther King.
There are still states that refuse that, and we as elders are going to have to. We're going to have to be the leaders of it because our young people have a cavalier. Not all, but so many have a cavalier attitude over our history, and we're going to have to push it. We're going to have to make them, as I tell so many of the young people that see my show, find an elder, sit at their feet, listen to their stories, hear about from whence they came, because when you're going to need that food, that fuel to take you through your life and to share with others. We are griots. We have to keep telling our story.
Yes.
We own this story. They don't, for so long, they have acted like they own our story. No, this is our story.
That's it. So, to a degree, it may be the lack of education, but for whatever reason, we have allowed them to continue to tell our story. So, when Reverend Dr. Sharon says it's nobody's fault, right? I look at that as, so let me do that one second. So the first one, Ms. Gwendolyn, when you said like it's the first step, it is a step because we've been stepping, right?
Right.
Dr. Martin Luther King, all the things that happened in the past, even before Dr. Martin Luther King, he wasn't the first one, but we know of the recorded success that was made. We know of the Rosa Parks, and we know of the Barack Obama. We know of those. So it's so many unhidden hidden figures that we don't know about. So we've been stepping and stepping. The thing is never to stop stepping. Just like the grandmother of Juneteenth, she ain't just started doing this. She been doing this and doing it. And even days before it became a federal holiday, guess what? She was still doing it. So it was like, and so that's why the subtitle in terms of A Dream Realized, it was her dream that was realized. So we know Dr. Martin Luther King, and we're still working on that, right? But her dream was actually realized. The second point I wanted to make, nobody's fault but ours. And maybe it's my time frame or whatever. It's both about, it's everybody's fault, right? The treatment that we got, when you don't know better, you don't do better. When you don't know better and you feel like you're getting fed and you're getting, because what are we going to do? You know what I mean? When you're in that mindset of survival, you begin to do some things. Of course, as we went along, got educated, even when people were free, some of them were like afraid. You know what I mean? So again, it goes with the mindset. So I don't just only blame our community. Even what goes on in Southeast today and killing each other, I don't only blame them. Yes, I think that we should have become further by now, but growing up, knowing I saw what I saw, thank God that he covered me and I was on a different path. I know and I seen and I personally know so many people who went through and whose children, when people get shot on the half of the time, I'll be like, who are they connected to? And I'll know their mother or their mother's mother or however it ends up going. Sad thing, but it is their mindset. It is their way of living. So not on, you know what I mean? Like you can never make up for the lost time. No. We have a responsibility.
That's what my dad was dealing with. It was his mindset. Yeah. Of course he would have wanted more. He was given land to do whatever he wanted to do. Yeah. But it's the mindset. And that's where, again, we go back in and we pour into them to help be a part of the change. But we want to do that, seize the opportunity, because one thing I've shared with our ministry over and over and over again, this is a moment in time that we might not ever get again.
That's it.
We got to seize this because the ground is hot. It is hot right now. God has so set this thing up. People looking at the pandemic trying to figure out, why did this happen? Why did that happen? Look at how intricate things have been and succinct. To make the first last and the last first. God said, I'm going to sit you down, come to the table, but then I'm going to give you some money to put towards the things you're going to do. And then I want you to make a plan because I'm going to bring some other things to the forefront. Come together, family. Do like you see other people. We can do this, but we have to say, this is the other thing. Sometimes we leave our communities, Ladrine, and we don't go back. We have to go back. We can't. We have to be a part of the change.
We have to be a part of it.
Right.
Ladrine, I want to ask this question.
So, and Ross, I'm gonna let you go, but understand when we go this round, it's your close out round, right? Because we are at time. But by all means, as your question go, your round, do whatever. So we're gonna hit everybody one more. And Reverend Doctor, you already got a half of yours hit. So when you come back around, we already got points 1. We got your sermon title, we got your scripture, and we got points 1 and 2. You got one more point left. All right. So go ahead, Auntie Ross.
This has been good, but I just wanted to go back to what Dr. Sharon was saying and how the perception or the interpretation of it's our fault. I don't think she meant, you correct me, Dr. Sharon, from history, but here now we are responsible to take the opportunity. But the thing is, we still have to understand how to be creative, to explain, to educate, to empower, to elevate. Because if we come attacking hard, that's the spirit of, we had already been getting beat down, let alone from our own. We have got to be creative how to explain it. But guess what? We have to discern the spirit of communication. It's still our responsibility. Nehemiah built the wall in 52 days. It started with the home front, the door of our own home to be able to go out and saturate? How can you be out in the community telling if you ain't even educated your own children?
That's it.
Absolutely. I get that. And so we probably need to do a part 2 next week. I get that.
Yeah,
I'm just
maybe
going
we
to say
can
this
get
one
Mother
piece.
on
I'm going to say this one
that'd be
piece.
wonderful.
Right. I'm going to say this one piece. I'm not going to like do a whole dialogue. I get what you're saying. But on the flip side of what Reverend Dr. Sharon said, her father was given, but he didn't have the mindset.
Yeah.
So you can't blame her father.
No.
You can't blame her father because he didn't have the mindset. So I understand what you mean of going back and back. And that's why I was honest and said I used to be judgmental. I used to be like, if I made it out Southeast, everybody made it out. I ain't never say nothing about that. Was that God favor over me that protected me in the little corner? But go ahead.
That's
Auntie,
it.
look, now I'm calling you Auntie. Auntie Gwendolyn.
Well, we have to understand, too, what this country has planned for us not to be a part of it. That's the foundation of this country. And until we know our enemy, we have to educate ourselves on the policies and the things. I mean, look at all white people talk about pull yourself up by the bootstrap. This land has been in my family for the Homestead Act of the 1800s. They gave those white people that land because you had to be a citizen. We weren't citizens.
We didn't even have the right to have land. Go ahead.
There's a marvelous book which is out now. The Sum of Us. I don't know if you're familiar with it. Sister Heather McGee wrote it, and she just gives you history and teach. Oh, she says, okay, this is why this is. So we know we have to know our enemy, and and this system is an enemy so we have to know our enemy and know that we have to. So when we get in high places, the Lord has brought us into high places. He's opened up the windows of heaven, and the windows are people, and they will pour us out. He's pouring us out a blessing. So when we get this knowledge, we must turn this system around. So it works for everyone. I journal. The reason I write by hand, but I do by hand is because I want my grandchildren and great grandchildren to read my words and to see how I wrote them.
All right. So amen, amen, and amen. So it has been a wonderful show, and we're not even done, right? It's time to end the show, but it's not done. So I'm going to circle back with the ladies and see if we can do part 2, and it would be a blessing if we can do it next week, hint, hint, July 4th, right? So I'm going to reach out to you all and see if you are available, because we didn't get to the last question, and then we just got heated into the discussion. But I appreciate it because, so I'm 50, my aunties and a little, older than me. So experiences have been different. My South Carolina visits are different. My Southeast, I know what I went through in Southeast. I know what they go through now. So we can look at this thing on so many different levels. So definitely for real, we're going to have a part 2 with this. Any questions that you all have, put them in the feed now so that we make sure that we can circle back. And ladies, thank you so much. I appreciate each one of you for being my special guest. If you can type your information in the feed so that if people want to get in contact with you, people want to buy your books, or people want to follow your show, any upcoming events that you have, please do so. Closing out, I definitely want to bring up real quick the flyer for Shanae Robinson. She is a co-host on the show, and she is having a conference that's upcoming in September, looking for vendors. She already have the speakers, but please check out Shanae's information. Flyer is showing, and it's September the 19th at 1 p.m., and it's a mindset mastery. So if you're looking to just enjoy life, and she's starting a whole movement with that. So yes, looking forward to coming back and having guests in the studios. I keep looking at the chairs out here, so can't wait to do that. We're going to do the women versus men and the generational bridges and gaps. So thank you all so much for tuning in, and I will see you all next week. Have a great one.